Sunday morning, 10:50. I now only have 40 minutes to food prep because I have to be somewhere and I have to leave at 11:30. So I'm doing this real quick, mostly to show my patients who ask me how I have gotten healthier in the last 9 months. So I'm going to start with eggs, and these have had a little hole cut in them. I'm not a chef, but you're supposed to cut a hole so they don't explode, and that seems to work really well. And I put my egg thing back over here, and it's got a little vinegar in it so that it can, or it will, so that it can, the shells can come off, because that is something that is hard for me to do all the time. The shells kind of like stay stuck on there, and eggs are super healthy and fabulous, and I do 12 minutes because I like them kind of on the harder side. And they're fabulous because they have choline in them, and that is great for brain development, and it's super, super healthy. My patients will tell you that I always say no juice, no soda, no cereal at all. Oh, and I'm gonna put this next to it to remember that I have to put ice and put them in there so the shells fall off easier. No food, no juice, no soda, no cereal, because those things are just not in my repertoire for health. And so I like to try to keep them away. Now, as I cook, this is not a cooking show because I am not a chef. I am a pediatrician who has become a little frustrated with the amount of unhealthiness in my patients, and not just by choice, but just by continuously, like my little guys are eczema and asthma and allergies. And so when I was, I'm Mayo Clinic trained, so I grew up in South Florida. I went to Johns Hopkins University when I was in undergrad, and then to the Mayo Clinic, all very traditional schools. And from there, I came back to South Florida to be close to my mom because Hispanic, and I love my parents. And I love Florida. So we lived here for a while, and I've been in my same practice for 20 years. And with that, I've had the opportunity to see my patients grow in health, but a lot of patients really becoming more and more healthy. I feel like now I'm more of an internal medicine doctor because my patients are becoming diabetic, they're having fatty liver, and then in addition to that, I'm starting to see so much more issues with autism and asthma and eczema. And one of the things that I learned is that as I aged and I became unhealthy, and then as my mom aged also and started to develop typical things that are known with aging, things like dementia and arthritis, and had to have joints replaced, and is becoming less and less independent. And I started just having to accompany her to her doctor's appointments, and it was like medicine after medicine, pill after pill. She became frustrated with it, and honestly, we didn't really see a big effect from that. I had already been, since early in my practice, my grandmother passed away from diabetes, so one of my uncles was very proactive in trying to get the family to not drink juice, soda, to decrease their rice intake, to be careful with what we call the white carbohydrates, bread, pasta, rice, cereal, potatoes. So we were already doing that, but on a reduced scale, not completely removed. And then as I was doing that, my husband, parallel to me and unbeknownst to me, was doing a lot of research in cellular medicine, which is kind of the medicine of how our cells work, and how you can kind of hack into our cells and support them in ways with supplements, vitamin B, CoQ10, all these other supplements that you would take in addition to. And so when my mom's health deteriorated, she and I and my husband decided that we would go this kind of alternative route for a while and see what happened. And she improved significantly. Amazingly enough, she was already on a kind of a health path. She and my dad, okay, obviously not a chef since I almost cut my fingers off. She and my dad had already started themselves with their own research on B vitamins and omega vitamins, trying to keep and collagen and things like that. And so we just kind of added to it. And because she has pretty much the same genetics as I did, I have really high cholesterol, joint pain, I was fatigued and brain fogged, and all my life I had a lot of issues with my menstrual cycle, and then when I hit menopause, it hit me really hard and young. I was pretty young when I started, in my early 40s. I'm gonna say like 42, and I was done by 45. It was like a Mack truck hits you. And so I decided to do some of the testing that we were also doing on my mom out of curiosity, and interestingly enough, my testing was a lot worse than hers. By then she had already been on supplements and things for about 9 months, and we were seeing some good effects, so I decided to go ahead and start that. And then I read this book by Casey Means, which is Good Energy. I highly recommend that. Started doing a lot of research into neurodevelopmental disorders, Alzheimer's, and saw many links between Alzheimer's and autism and treatment options. And I would say not treatment, because treatment kind of gives the idea that you're going to cure something. Support options to help improve outcomes. And so now my husband and I went in basically full gorilla. In February, my birthday's on Valentine's Day. So in February of 2025, I started and just went kind of almost grain-free. And for me, it was a little easier to do this because I had already been reduced, so grain reduced. I had already almost eliminated rice and breads and pastas from my diet, but I hadn't really replaced them with anything. I can't even think what I ate. I mean, I still ate them, but not as much. Oh, and I thought I was eating healthier because I was doing the brown rice and the whole grains and things like that. That's what it was. And so then, after reading more, after doing some, wearing a continuous glucose monitor, seeing the effects of the foods that I was eating, the effects of not eating, the effects of when I ate, it was kind of eye-opening, and so I made drastic changes. Hence the reason I am now peeling Brussels sprouts for the first time in my life. So before the age of 53, I did not eat one vegetable. Well, that's not a lie. That's a lie. I ate a vegetable if it was put on my plate, but I didn't go out of my way to eat a vegetable. So I said, okay, I'm going to give this a year. I'm going to try this stuff that everybody talks about, these functional medicine people, Mark Hyman, these people who, and my husband, who was talking about cellular energy, etc. Because if I'm going to do supplements, there's no need for me to put $200, $300 worth of supplements in a body that's just eating a bunch of junk, potato chips. And that was one of the things when I was not healthy, is because I wasn't eating bread and rice and pasta and cereal on a regular basis. Then I deluded myself into saying, well, since you're not being unhealthy in that way, you can have your salt and vinegar potato chips at night, which, by the way, is wrong. So I went ahead and we did, so the goal is to be 100%. I started with breakfasts and basically did eggs or yogurt and fruit and nuts instead of granola. I do nut-ola. The reason I don't do granola is because, unfortunately, even though it's high in fiber, it has a lot of pesticides and stuff in it. And on top of that, I don't really like it. So, great. I was very happy to hear that it wasn't as healthy as I thought it was. And so then, from there, I added lunches, and the lunches have been all vegetables and proteins, mostly like a salad, a cold salad, and last I added dinners. I did some intermittent fasting. How that went. It's not really something my body likes, interestingly enough. So it's really important to work with a health coach or work with someone or see the effects of the glucometer. The problem is with the modern medical system is you can't really get those things unless you're paying for them out of pocket, and even if you want a glucometer, you have to have a prescription. So when I saw how frustrating it was to do this, and my husband was already so much more advanced than me that in the whole supplements information and things like that, and I'm continuously learning from him and from the people that he's learned from, we decided to start a business called Liability, which is funny because I'm now spinning lettuce or spinning Brussels sprouts. I think that's hysterical. So that is our goal for the end of this year and the next year, is to kind of get that business off and running, and hopefully help people who are interested in being healthy, who want to have more health in their life and in a more natural way as opposed to traditional pills and things. Now, I'm not against them. I still practice medicine, and I still believe that you need regular medicines to sometimes save your life. But at the same point, on the regular day-to-day, I'm not. I want to try to make my body as healthy as possible and not need the medications. So this here is, I call it Japanese spinach, but I just learned that it's actually not a spinach. So it's got a different name. And I looked it up. Where'd my thing go? Anyway, anytime you see purple, so you see how pretty it is? It's purple on the one side and then green on the inside. And I grow it, and it is basically a weed. You cannot kill it. You stick it in the ground. The little stems, you can just cut them off, put them in water, and then stick them in the ground, and then it's so sweet, it gives you more of them. And it is super high. Anything purple is like heart healthy. So blueberries, blackberries, anytime I have a patient in the office who's HDL, which is the carrier cholesterol, the cholesterol that helps to carry the other cholesterols in the body so they don't stop and stick to the arteries. That cholesterol we want to be like 70 to 90. So if I see a kid who has that cholesterol in their 40s or even in their 50s, I'm telling them, look for purple things. Lots of purple things. No, not wine. Unfortunately, those studies were wrong. Well, they're not wrong. They probably do help some. It's just that as humans, when we take something like that and then we start drinking a liter a day, that then becomes unhealthy. Purple fruits and vegetables. It's also hugely high in anti-inflammatory effects. The only problem is that sometimes little spiders decide to come inside on them when you grow them fresh. And if you're one of my patients and you ever see this and you want some of this, because I think it's so fabulous and fun and I'm afraid I'm ever going to run out, I grow it myself. So I will give you a gift of a little Japanese plant if you ask me for it. And then I'll know you watched this video. And let's see. So the other thing I learned about this one is that if you saute it, you get like different micronutrients if you saute it lightly versus if you eat it raw, which is also very interesting. So, and the good thing with this is it'll stay. So I tend to make the food for about half the week on Sunday, and then all I have to do is like finish it off on Wednesday or Thursday to make sure that I get enough of it. Look at these. Now I've tried to, supposedly you can eat the stems, and I've tried to eat the stems, but what they do is that they, I'm sorry, I gotta put them, they, what happens when you eat the stems? They get stuck in your teeth, so it's kind of gross. Hold on one second while this makes lots of noise. So after I cook these, I keep them in the refrigerator for the week. And they can be my breakfast, or they can be my snack. They can go on salads. They can be a meal. Because again, what I try to eat mostly and what is recommended when you're trying to be nutrient intelligent for your cells is you want mostly vegetables, lots of protein, and healthy, low sugar fruits. So your berries, you want to focus on your berries as much as you can. So this is done. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's see. Oh no, 25 minutes. All right. So that just brings me to the point of patients tell me all the time, and the MAs that work with me, they'll say, you know, we just don't have the time for this. We don't have the time to food prep. I don't want to give up my Sunday. One, you get better with practice. Two, if I can learn to do this, anybody can learn to do this. There has been some casualties when it comes to the knife in recently, and that, you know, that's just life. There are some tools that I use. The salad spinner is like absolutely a must in my opinion. You need to have something to clean. Put this down here. Ooh, that one's gross. Looks like you eat the black stuff. Okay, we're gonna go with no. What else is good? Oh, the food processor. I'm gonna show you how I use the food processor. Now, Brussels sprouts. I think I'm gonna make an updated video later. And the reason I'm doing it live, even though nobody's watching, is because I always say I'm going to do these things and then I never do them. This way, hey, who cares? It's out there. So, Brussels sprouts, high fiber. Again, the dark green is really good for you. So anything you see that's a dark green. Just the thought of me, who never ate vegetables, is actually contemplating having Brussels sprouts this week is amazing. So it just goes to show you that you can teach yourself to do anything. A big thing with this, teaching yourself to do things, is take it step by step. So like I said, I started with breakfast, added lunch, and then went to dinners, did it Monday through Wednesday, did it Monday through Thursday, and then now I would say I'm 75% healthy. I still have days. I give myself the weekend for going out, having dinners, but I find the more and more I do it, not that you're addicted to it, but because you see the results and you feel the results, then you're more likely to do it. And you may be sitting there going, oh, I've tried this before. I've tried to eat healthy. I've tried to do this, and I did too. The thing is that it's not one fix. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to eat more vegetables and I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to start walking and I'm going to be more healthy. You have to do it all. Your cells are very complex. They are divas. They want sunshine and deep breathing, and they want relaxation, but at the same time they want movement. They want you to be stressed, but they also want you to relax. They want to eat lots of fiber, and they don't want it just to be the same fiber. It has to be different colors, and it has to be different textures, and it has to be consistent. It has to be all day. And sometimes they want to starve themselves, and sometimes they want to feed themselves. And so it isn't something that you just do one thing for a short period of time and then you go back to doing the unhealthy things that you might have been doing in the past. So it is something that it is a journey that you have to undertake, and it's a decision. And as you start to see the health benefits, you more than likely will start to fit and do more of the things. So what health benefits and then what time period? So I started in February. In retrospect, I was very intelligent because I started with the supplements first. So I started those probably October, September. I started supplements first. Multivitamin, B complexes, CoQ10. And I started that because I had done the testing through my husband. It's a plasmalogen test that checks your mitochondria, checks your cells, tells you how healthy you are. And like I said, I was unhealthier than my mom. So then, I had kind of like a black and white reason that I had to be on these supplements. If I wasn't, then my cells were going to start to like, and then I could already feel, and again, I could see in my family through my mom what diseases were coming down the road, and I didn't want those. So the supplement started first. That actually, I think, in retrospect, gave me the energy to then go ahead and to do everything else. I started walking. Next, zone 2 walking is exactly what you need to do. I love the fact that all your cells want, just to be healthy, is to be walking 20 to 60 minutes a day. They don't want 60 minutes. They're greedy little gusses, and they are very selfish, and so they don't want 60 minutes in one fell swoop. They want 60 minutes throughout the day of movement. So try to work out in the morning, do something at lunchtime, and then move again in the evening. But the good thing is that they don't care if it's that you don't have to go to the gym, you don't have to go you don't have to go to the gym, you don't have to go to wherever. You don't have to buy equipment, nothing. All you need is your 2 feet and sunshine and a sidewalk that's safe, or a field or whatever. All right, probably won't be able to talk about this goes on. This is my first time shredding these. So that didn't work. Let's try this. Maybe we put a bunch in there. Something like that. All right, because I don't know, but eating a full Brussels sprout to me is still kind of weird, so I'm gonna shred them, and then it says it stays good for 3 days after they're shredded. So the problem when you do this is that they get stuck at the top, I've learned, and then if you do that, that little machine starts to make shape everywhere. But because I have no knife skills, this works really, really good. And why do I have no cooking skills? Because when I was younger, my mom had a rule, and her rule was if you had to study, you didn't have to do chores. All you had to do was clean up after yourself in the kitchen and make sure you didn't make a big mess. And on Saturday, you'd help her do 1 or 2 things around the house. But if you had to homework, you didn't have to do it. Or if you had like a big task or something. And so, of course, I always had to study, because who wants to do chores? So, of course, she's not stupid, so if I was studying all the time, she expected me to get good grades, and her expectation of good grades was 100%. So if you didn't get 100%, then you had to do more chores. So, kind of worked out in the fact that I went to medical school, but on scholarship, but it didn't work out because then I didn't know how to cook, or I don't know how to cook. So all these skills, quote unquote, that I have right now are self-taught, or YouTube, thank you. And I am just kind of learning as I go along. And then, all right, this actually looks pretty. It kind of looks like lettuce or cabbage. All right. We'll find out in the rest of the week whether or not our tummy tolerates it, and whether or not. I wouldn't suggest Brussels sprouts as the first vegetable you start with. My actual favorite vegetable is broccoli, and it's got lots and lots of micronutrients. It's easy. You can cook it all different ways. Chops up in the food processor, really, really nice, and it's sold at Costco in organic. This was organic too, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I do like to try to trend towards organic fruits and vegetables and foods as much as you can. Yeah, you see, organic. Because that means it has less toxins and chemicals on it that will go on and hurt your mitochondria also. Who got stuck in there? Somebody is too chunky. Somebody got overnourished. All right. There we go. These little ones. I think I'll leave the last little bit. And if I survive the Brussels sprouts this week, then towards the end of the week, what I'll do is I'll actually try to roast those or cook them. One thing that I have found, I like curry. You can hide anything in curry. It's really good. All right, so that's the base. I got one done. Oh, no, I need this still. Now I'm gonna do these guys. Let's put these guys away. Oh. Alright, so Sunday is my food prep day. If you have all your veggies already lined up, then it makes it easier for during the week for you to be able to just pull it out and grab a protein. And so you already have your base. And to the veggies you can add your eggs, your cheeses, as long as you try to find like organic, regenerative, grass-fed, etc. that has all the things in there that are healthy. And then you could also add the other proteins. Kind of stick with fish, salmon. If you're not a fish eater, again, not a fish eater, did not eat fish prior to February, but it's super high in omegas, which are like your brain nutrients, also super anti-inflammatory, and calories and stuff like that. If you count them, I don't count calories. I never did. I think it's too much work. What I do is I just make sure that everything on my plate is healthy, and if that is happening, then I don't have to worry about how many calories I eat. So this one, I use this blade, okay? I've learned that you have to pulse. If you just turn it on, then it turns into like water, and you don't want it like that. You do want them as dry as possible so that they last longer, or else they get up kind of mushy. All right, so. I usually try to find 2 to 3 veggies in that day, in that week. Again, Costco's my friend, and because it's just the 2 of us, then we tend to eat that same stuff every week, and my gut mitochondria are just gonna have to deal with the fact that they're not getting something different every day. So, what are these gut mitochondria? They are your community. They are your friends who live in your intestines. Usually I think it's mostly the colon. And they hang out in there. And it's just like any other community. There could be some good guys and there could be some bad guys. And you get more of the bad guys if you kind of kill off the good guys. And how do you kill off the good guys? With processed foods, chips, cookies, Doritos, sugars, and with antibiotics, and sometimes other medications. Without moving, your colon doesn't have legs. So in order for your colon to move, it has to be moved by your feet moving. So if you don't exercise, then your colon isn't happy. I just told you to pulse and I didn't. Pulse. Let me show you what it looks like. So you see, it's kind of little, itty bitty. I like to make things itty bitty because it's easier for me to mentally eat them. When I first started, I really truly had to be like, hold my nose and put them in my mouth because I thought they were gross. I still do not wake up, even after doing this for 9 months, do not wake up every morning and say, hurrah, I get to eat green stuff today. If somebody invented a salt and vinegar potato chip that was gut friendly, had protein in it, I would eat that every day. So if you kill off your gut bacteria by not moving, by giving it over processed foods, by giving it foods that thought they were foods, things like, McDonald's burgers and chicken nuggets and lots of sugar, then your good bacteria do not like lots of sugar. You know what they like? It's kind of like composting, if you've ever done composting. What you do when you compost is you put a bunch of vegetables together and then put the worms in, and the worms are like, woo, yay, we're happy. Your gut bacteria are like those worms. Woo, yay, we're happy. If you're giving them prebiotics, and the prebiotics are vegetables and fermented foods. And fermented foods are fermented pickles, There is a brand at Whole Foods, because I do love me some pickles. Here's one. See, you have to look for the word fermented on things, not just like the kosher dill pickles and things like that. Yogurt, A2 grass-fed organic yogurts. Getting distracted, but I'll show you. I even make curry, and later, not today because I don't have enough time, I'm going to try to make some tzatziki for the first time. All right, so we did those, did that. All right, I am going to be behind. Now we'll do peppers. Alexa, when I make tzatziki, do I have to take the skin off of the cucumbers?
I don't have an answer for that.
She's not helpful. Babe, can you look that up for me real quick? I need to know. Alright, so gut bacteria, healthy vegetables, miso soup, that's also good for fermented stuff, and yogurt, kimchi, kefir. So I used to be against milk. I used to tell people after the age of 2 you don't need milk. And actually that's true, but the cool thing with milk is that it has a lot of protein in it. And the cool thing with milk is that kids will drink it. The problem with milk in children is that they will drink it to the exclusion of everything else. So they will drink 5, 6, 7 cups of milk a day, and then they won't eat. So and that's the same thing that goes with juice. That's one of the main reasons initially I said no juice. Because juice goes into our body, especially if we're a little child. So if you think of a toddler, he's walking around, he's having fun, and then you tell him, hey, come and sit down to eat. And he's like, I'm not gonna stop. I wanna keep going. He takes 2 bites and he runs off. So if you give him juice, he gets to put that little juice cup underneath his hand, he puts it down, he grabs a sip, he puts it down, he grabs a sip, and he just gives himself sugar energy. But that is not nourishing energy. That is not an energy that your cells needs, because your cell needs to have all those supplements, the B's, the D's, the E's, the A's, the K's. And so if you give them juice, and it drives me insane because, and parents are confused because they go to, if they're on like food help through the government or whatever, they'll get juice coupons. And then I'm telling them, don't drink juice. And don't use that. And I really wish they could just replace those with just actual fruits. The other thing is with kids, so I'm Colombian, my family background is Colombian, and we are relatively a healthy culture. So if you think about it, we like fruit, we like fruits, we like beans, we love meat, we just don't do veggies. We either do a lot of tortillas, or we do a lot of something else, rice, lots and lots of rice. Unfortunately, some nutrition in it, but not to the point where as much as we eat. So trying to find ways that you can start to substitute and move towards elimination. So this method with the food processor works really, really good for the cauliflower rice. The first time I did cauliflower rice, I bought that stuff from Costco that's like in a bag and it's frozen, and that stuff is disgusting. But if you take a normal cauliflower, like a head of cauliflower, chop it up and throw it in one of these, it's actually not bad. It doesn't taste like rice, you gotta season it, and if you mix it with rice, it makes the rice kind of make you feel better about eating rice. So you just do what you can within the limitations that you can. There's a lot of subs, so I say no pasta. But there's a great protein pasta, the Bonza, and that you can do for your family. And let's see, we talked about eggs and protein. Water. Water's so important. We need to drink 1 glass of water per year of age, and adults usually need about 64 to 120 ounces of water. So one of the interesting facts that I learned is that water, so if you think about camels, what do camels have? They have that big old hump in the back, okay? And that big old hump in the back is what holds on to their water so that they can survive in the desert for a long period of time. Guess what that hump is made of? fat, exactly. And guess what our body does? So when our body is dehydrated, we are kind of like camels. We print fat like a printer. And we just print more fat in order to hold on to water because the body feels like it's dehydrated. So it's one of the most important things that we can do to our body is making sure, one of the many things that we need to do for our body for it to be as healthy as possible. So let's see. We talked about water, sunshine, super important. Most of us stay inside, working. We go from home, wake up, it's usually dark, and then we get out, we go to work all day inside, pick up our kids, come home, and then make dinner, run kids back and forth to different locations, and then come back home, sit in front of the couch, and go to bed. And at no time during that time did you actually get sunshine. So most of us are vitamin D deficient, so that's the reason for the supplementation. And you may ask, hey, since you're now eating so healthy, did you stop your supplements? No, because unfortunately, one, I can't go 100% organic. Well, I could, but it would take like an extra 3 hours in my week, and I don't have that time to give up from me going store to store finding different things. And it would cost me $1 billion. So I pretty much shop at 2 places, occasionally a trip to Whole Foods because I can't find organic sweet potatoes other than Whole Foods, and I only need those like once every 2 weeks. So I go there for that. And because of that, and because the foods that are now being made, even if they're organic, they're just not as micronutrient dense, then I go ahead and continue my supplements. And 2, because I feel so good, I'm kind of scared. I don't want to stop my supplements. I don't want to go back to joint pain and brain fog and not sleeping, and just overall feeling like my body was starting to fall apart. All right. So I think I could have bought the carrots. I didn't do the peppers in the food processor because I tried it once and they turned into like a mashed, juicy, gross thing. So I did not. I think I'm gonna leave them. I was gonna leave them when I made my tzatziki to leave as like to dip to the tzatziki because unfortunately there's like really no cracker out there that's healthy. I've looked like for tortilla chips. There is one that is recommended by Dr. Casey Means. It's called Flackers, and they're made with like chia seeds and almond flour and flax seeds and all that other stuff. But they taste like cardboard. I mean, in a pinch, if you're starving at night and you really want something and it's your healthy day and you're not allowed to eat something else, I have eaten 1 or 2. But it's a great way to stay healthy because you'd rather just eat something else. As far as liquids go, teas are good as long as you don't put sugar in them. Sugars, they're a big no-no. Unfortunately, sugars link not only to diabetes, but also osteoarthritis and high blood pressure. And this kind of eating, I understand how difficult it can be, especially with my families with children with autism, and a lot of families kind of give up and they just kind of go, okay, well, if you won't eat anything, I'll let her eat at least something. Kraft mac and cheese every day, at least there's like food in them. And that's okay when you start, but eventually you need to start thinking about ways. They've been able to. I'm supposed to be getting ready to go. They've been able to learn, and you taught them these things. So we need to figure out ways that you can teach them to be healthier. We can sub the pasta and the Kraft mac and cheese with the Bonza pasta. We could add collagen in there. We can put some whey protein in there. We can start to change out that powder that's made from who knows what chemicals with other healthier cheeses and start to dilute it out. Maybe add some yogurt in there to make it creamy. So as you think about this, as you think about whether or not this option is for you, know that this is not an option that's like some of the traditional medicines. You give a medicine and immediately you see an effect. This is going to take 6 weeks, I would say, at a minimum. If you're doing it with supplements, you may start to feel a little bit better in 3 weeks, but if you are, but you really won't see anything in 6 weeks, until 6 weeks later. So, one more pepper. I think I'm going to leave my cucumbers for later, because they're mostly watery, and I don't know how to cook them, or use them in my tzatziki or in my salads. And I'm afraid since they're mostly water that they will water down the rest of my stuff too much. And I'm going to leave that yellow pepper for later. Alright. So this will probably last us most of the week for lunches and most of our dinners. And anything that's in here can also be air fried. So that's an option because it's got the Japanese spinach can actually be air fried. Where's my bag? Here. Alright. So now you know why I chose to do this. Now you know how I got healthier. I got healthier by changing my life completely. The life I live today is completely different than the life I lived prior to 2025. And if I can do it, somebody who never ate a vegetable prior to this time period in her life, then you can do it too. And it isn't, like I said, it isn't fun. It's not like I wake up every day going, I love vegetables. And it's gotten easier because I feel better, but it hasn't gotten easier because I still don't like to do it. So one thing that helps is when I get kind of down and not wanting to do stuff, I envision my cells and having them having a little party inside of me, telling me, being grateful for how healthier I am now as opposed to before. And so that helps, being mindful and reminding yourself on a regular basis of why you're doing this. Towards the end, just to address the cost. Yes, this is more expensive. Eating, especially if you're doing it organic. And if expense is a cost, then initially when you start, don't. Just go to the regular and it'll be a lot cheaper because it's definitely cheaper than potato chips, that's for sure. But the reality is that we will spend money on things that we find important, and you will find money by deciding to not do certain things. So if you are a family who plays golf and who gets their hair done and nails done and goes out to restaurants every weekend, a couple times a weekend, goes to the movies, has 16 streaming platforms, you just found money, all right? And my husband and I had to do it. We had to sit down when I saw that the cost of the organic food, and that's why I go to Costco, and I buy 75% organic as opposed to spending gas and going to another store where the amounts are smaller, and then the price of the food is much more. We sat down and said, okay, where can we shave expenses? We are not eating out as much. One, it's harder to eat out when you want to be healthy. We're definitely stopped Monday through Friday. We pack our own lunches, so no more delivery dudes and Uber Eats. If the streaming platform is being paid for, it's turned off, and that's great because then if you're not streaming stuff, guess what you have time to do? you have time to exercise because you're not sitting on the couch watching mindless TV, or you go to the library and you pick up books, or you use like library apps like Hoopla or whatever to download books. So how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's enough. And the rest will be a little extra on these two. So that's where you can find money in order to afford these things, because it is expensive, especially doing the supplements and doing the organic foods. It is expensive. The good news is the younger you start, the less you'll need, because your cells are healthier already. If you are already having issues, if you already have joint pain and body aches, diabetes, if you have neurodevelopmental issues like autism, Alzheimer's, those type of things, then it's going to be more expensive because your body's going to need more support. So, you just then need to find other places where you can find that money. If you want it, you will find it. I know that. I know that's possible. All right. Well, that's it. Only 6 minutes passed, and I didn't do the cucumbers and 1 pepper. So I've got the salads for the week. I have some Brussels sprouts that I can use to cook, and the pepper that I can use to cook for the week. And then my proteins will be done later this afternoon. Hope you learned something.